Okay. I am a faithful believer in Jesus Christ, who is in recovery. This is nice. Who's in recovery from divorce and anger issues and drugs, not drugs, I'm sorry, alcohol, sexual compulsion, codependency. I can fit into every man's group here. My name is Les. So much better standing up. Okay. I have the distinct pleasure to introduce one of the people. It wasn't just Joy, Gary, and I that started Celebrate Recovery. We had a facilitator, our first men's chemical facilitator, that started with us and stayed with us. He also was the one primarily responsible for starting the program at Ozarks Correctional Center. When we first started that first year here, he was in my ear every week. That's when he started prison ministry. That's when he started prison ministry. And I was like, don't go away. We've got to deal with Thursday night first. Anyway, it took us about a year, and we set up, he and I went down to OCC, and then he took it over and started with 6 people. And I think when he left, there was like 200 people, men that were involved in Celebrate Recovery every week, right? So that's the dedication. You're going to hear a story tonight that will raise the hair on your arms. You may find yourself tearful with both sad tears and happy tears, because he certainly has had a victory. I'd like you to please help me welcome Bob Gannon. By the way, he and I took a trip together to Tennessee. He doesn't like me to tell the story because he likes to think he was a person that had navigational skills.
I was a recon operator, you know.
Yeah. And we were in the jungle, going up the Mississippi River on the wrong side. But that's all right. Eventually we got back to civilization. And his pickup truck that was 20 years old when I got in it. He's still driving it, so that tells you what kind of dish it is.
370,000.
Anyway, I'll let him tell you his story. Okay? Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we certainly thank you for this time together. We thank you for this man and the dedication and the commitment that he's given to help literally hundreds of people come through healing through Celebrate Recovery, both in prison ministry and in other ways. We just ask that you be with him tonight. Tonight is sometimes not an easy story for him to tell. And so we just ask that you strengthen him, and that his words are your words, and that people are moved tonight. All of this we ask in your name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Les. There's a joke about that old truck and me. Still work for Pipeline. In fact, I just got back last night, and they said, "When are you going to last the longest in with that truck?" I'm not sure. My name's Bob. I'm a grateful believer. I struggle with alcohol, anger, post-traumatic stress, divorce, and just many other issues. Before I give my talk, part of my testimony is something that happened to me. It's a little bit about my Catholic faith. But in Celebrate Recovery, I have served in many different ministries. Right now, I serve in Rolla, Christian Church, as chemical dependency leader. I've served here, worked with many other churches, and wherever I've been, I've seen miracles. You see, it's not the name on the church; it's the heart of the people inside that church. Amen. That's where God resides. Anyhow, as I was writing this testimony, I believe Romans 9, 20, 21 best describes my testimony. Those of you that heard my past testimonies, I grew up in a dysfunctional home, had to deal with physical and mental abuse, and I had to deal with severe case of dyslexia. Romans 9, 20, 21 says, "Will what is molded say to the molder, why have you made me like this? As the potter will right over his clay, to make out of one lump an object for special use and another for ordinary use. I believe as you listen to my testimony and many of you here tonight, God has blessed our lives. And if you let Him run your life, you will find out how special you are. The pain and hurt that we endure in life gives us compassion and love and understanding beyond what a normal person has not dealt with that. I work up and down the pipeline. I just come back from Texas. Celebrate recoveries are popping up like mushrooms all over the place. And I just noticed it in the last 2 years. It was in the early months of 1966, I was served as a platoon sergeant of the 3rd Platoon, C Company, 1st Recon in July, Vietnam. I'm 24 years old at the time. A large number of Viet Cong had been reported about 10 to 12 miles from our base, possibly planning an attack on the base. I was sent to that region with 3 other recon Marines to try to locate the Viet Cong. We were dropped in by helicopter and made our way to a small mountain overlooking a large rice paddy, and on the south side of the rice paddy was a village. The second day of our mission, about 60 Viet Cong came out of the jungle and began training the rice paddy in front of us. I made a decision to call artillery on the Viet Cong. I had 16 155 howitzers assigned to the mission. Most of the time you call for a spot round because artillery is off, and once you land the first round you make a correction. But I knew if I fired a spot round, the Viet Cong would just infiltrate back into the jungle before we could inflict any damage on them. So I gave the command fire for effect, which means fire off 16 guns. The rounds fell well short of the target, no slamming in the village. Before we could get to command cease fire, relayed to the artillery command post, a second volley was fired. And I remember hearing the faint sounds of 16 booms as the second volley was fired. And I remember praying, please God, don't let these rounds hit the village. There was a short silence, and another 16 rounds hit the village. The artillery rounds pretty much destroyed the village, and the rest of the day and night, we heard screams and cries of women and children who were badly hurt, traumatized, and dying. Sometime during that night, I heard the long wail of a woman. She had probably just lost a loved one. The next day, we watched as they buried those killed. I was in a state of shock. Devastated by what happened. I'm 24 years old, and I've just killed a lot of innocent people, women and children. I kept what happened to the village a secret. I never told anyone, not even my family or my closest friend. In fact, I couldn't tell anyone, because every time I thought about it, I would have an emotional breakdown. For the next 50 years, I was haunted with nightmares and daytime flashbacks that were so real. I could hear the screams of the villagers. It was happening over and over again. What happened to the village and the wail of that woman haunted me with suicidal thoughts. I was medically discharged because of injury during my second tour of Vietnam, and soon after leaving the Marines is when my nightmares really began. And at times a little girl, about 6 or 7 years old, would appear in my dreams. She would just stand there and stare at me. And I would try to reach out to hold her. I wanted to tell her I was sorry. for what happened to the village. But each time I reached out, she would disappear. I was confused though because she didn't look like a Vietnamese child. She looked like an American child. And when the nightmares and daytime flashbacks occurred, the sounds that happened to the village and the Vietnamese people would blow over like a recording in my mind for weeks at a time, and I'd always go into a deep depression. I didn't tell anybody what I was going through, not even my family. And through the years, I began to distance myself and isolate myself from my children, my family. I seldom went to any family functions or even visit my kids. I would sleep about 3 hours a night. I'd go to bed about midnight and be up about 3. I was always the first one to work. I built up the same wall of defense we built on the battlefields, with no close relationships with anyone, not even my children. Like many veterans with PTSD, my coping mechanism was alcohol for many years. Holidays were always bad. I would think of the families of the men I had lost in Vietnam and the sadness those families would have to endure on these special days. The village always wanted me at Christmas time, thinking of the families and the extent of their injuries, how many was traumatized, lost arms or legs. I didn't feel I had the right to celebrate Christmas. I didn't want to buy anybody. I didn't want to buy anybody presents. I didn't want to receive any presents. I just wanted to be alone. After 33 years of service, I retired from my pipeline job without the problems of job to worry about. What happened in Vietnam was on me every day. I didn't have much of a prayer life at this point because the war had caused me to believe that God took care of my illness. After I was injured my second tour, I was sent to the Naval Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And that's where I learned my platoon had been ambushed, and most of them were killed 3 days after I was back off the battlefield. I was a platoon sergeant in that platoon. I became very angry at God, and I swore on that day, I will go to hell before I will ever kneel, bow to a God that didn't allow me to be with my men in that ambush. I was a platoon sergeant. They counted on me. I felt I let them down. I blamed God for my injuries, and for the next 20 years, I lived on the dark side of alcohol, anger, multiple affairs, divorces, and about any other thing that you can think of. After witnessing what happens on the battlefield, it's hard to believe that God cares about what happens here on earth. I'll never forget my first experience in war. It was in August of 1965. We made a landing in Chu-Lai, Vietnam. I lost 3 friends that day. I witnessed a battlefield where over 600 Viet Cong were dead. I remember thinking, how many children will never ever see their father? How many wives and mothers will ever know what happened to their sons or husbands? We passed through a village where the women and children had been caught in a crossfire between the Americans and the Viet Cong soldiers. No amount of training could ever prepare you for the horror of what happened to that village. I remember thinking, God, if you're real, God, if you're real, why do you let this happen? We came to another village that had been touched by the war, and all the women were lined up in the line on their knees. They were crying and holding bits of food and begging for their lives. I can't imagine what this day was like for these women. The war being raged all around their village. Many of their husbands and sons killed who were forced to serve in the Viet Cong Army. Now foreign troops entering their village. They had been told by the Viet Cong that the Marines were called double dogs and we had raped and killed everyone in that village, including the women and children. I was standing in front of the line of the women trying to communicate that we were not going to harm anyone. When one of the women tried to hand me her baby. The baby was only 2 or 3 months old, and she thought she could save her baby's life by giving it to me. That's been over 50 years ago. I can still visualize that woman's face so clearly. If I was an artist, I could paint it in her face today. She made such a lasting impression on me as she was holding that baby. I remember the panic in her eyes, those tears running all the way down her face, dripping to the ground. She was begging me in a language that I could not understand. But I knew what she was saying, just as she was speaking, English. She was saying, "Please take my baby. Please take my baby. I want to save my baby's life." As I was looking at her and those tears running down her face, I remember thinking, I've seen enough killing today. I hope I never have to see no more. I asked God several times that day, "Where are you? If you're a loving God, why don't you stop this madness?" But not all my memories in Vietnam were bad. I had memories that I treasured and have helped me get through the rough times with the men and the dedication. I remember a very special Christmas in Vietnam. We had a very bad several weeks on the battlefield. In our platoon of about 40 men, we were down to 13. Not all were casualties of war. Some of the men rotated home, and we lost quite a few to malaria. It was late Christmas Eve when we arrived at our base camp, and there was not going to be any Christmas meal for us. Our Christmas meal was to be our military rations. Christmas time in the war is always very depressing. You think about home, Christmas, opening presents, going to church, and just a good time at Christmas Eve. I became very depressed being a platoon sergeant. It's an impossible job. You can never save everybody, but you can't never stop loving yourself for every man you lost. Now remember, knew I was going to have an emotional breakdown, and I went off by myself and found an old tree I sat under, and I began to cry. And I asked God, I don't want this job anymore. Just let me be a private. I don't want responsibility for all these lives. I was 26 years old at the time. I got through that emotional spell, and I heard somebody call my name. It was a Marine who'd been looking for us for hours. He had mail for the platoon. I received a box of cookies from home. That box of cookies had been shipped about 4 weeks earlier. The box was busted open and was covered with red ants. That was going to be our Christmas treat. As we all sat in a circle knocking the man's off those stale cookies and eating our Christmas tree, I remember one of the Marines saying, "If I don't make it home, would one of you guys go by and see my mom? I know she's going to take it really hard if I don't make it. Tell her I love her." Several Marines said, "If I make it home, I'll go by and see your mom. We'll spend some time with her, and we'll tell her about you." Then another Marine said, My daughter was only a few months old when I left home. She don't know me. If I don't make it home, would somebody keep in contact with her? And when she gets old enough, tell her about me. Tell her I was a good Marine. Phone numbers and addresses were exchanged, and commitments of those who make it home alive would visit the families of the Marines who didn't make it home. We told stories of past Christmases late into the night. Of all the Christmases I've lived through, that's my special Christmas. You see, we didn't have no material gifts to exchange, but we had the real gift. The love and commitment of each soldier for one another and their family. And every Christmas I can visualize sitting on the old wall now, knocking the ants off them stale cookies. And I can visualize the glow around us. I know that God was there with us that night. We gave the only gift we had to give, the commitment to pass on the message of one fallen soldier to his family. One night after living this 20 years of an alcoholic life, I hit bottom. I was sitting in my company truck and I began to cry. And I felt a hard thump on my shoulder, and a voice in my truck said, "It's almost over." I remember thinking, how could God love me? After all these years of cursing His name, the multiple affairs, the alcoholism, and all the people that I had led down the same road. But I could feel God sending for me. I didn't feel His anger. I felt His love. I felt His pity for my pain. Romans 5:8 says God proved His love for us while we were still sinners. Christ died for us. My life began to change the very next day. And with God began to move some obstacles that were holding me back. And I began to experience a small amount of spiritual growth. A year and a half later, I married a Christian lady, Judy. She made sure to go to church on Sundays. And I began to let God be the part of my life. I served in the inner cities and the church that we were attending where we were living in St. Louis. In 1997, I transferred my job to Springfield, Missouri. I got involved in the jail ministry for 3 years. And in 2005, I joined Celebrate Recovery here. And Celebrate Recovery, which I still serve today, as a small group, chemical dependency leader in Rollins, Missouri. And this is where the great change in my life came for Celebrate Recovery. Has God taken away all the pains and struggle of my past? No, He's not. I still struggle with my past life and some of the people I've hurt in my alcoholic years. I still struggle with a serious case of PTSD. But it's in that struggle that I'm reminded of the poor souls that are struggling with many types of addiction. My goal is not the material things in this world anymore, but serving God where I'm needed. I'm 77 years old, and I know my time is limited on this earth. My goal is, my time is up, and I stand before God to be judged. And He will say, "You did become the masterpiece that I created you to be." I grew up Catholic, but left the Catholic Church about 40 years ago. And in 2014, my wife and I started attending the Catholic Church, St. Louis, Mississippi, right next door. And I bought myself a rosary, and I began praying the rosary almost every day. It was still hard for me to pray because I still had a lot of anger at God because of what happened in Vietnam. Even though I had been bringing the gospel into prisons and jails and some recovery, I was still struggling to pray. I was not trusting God totally to guide my life. I was bringing the gospel to everyone with me. When I've been praying the rosary, Satan would be reminding me of my alcoholic years and of all those people that I hurt. Over time, praying the rosary almost every day, I noticed my anger of God slowly began to diminish, and Satan's influence over me while I was praying the rosary began to fade. But what happened to the village of Vietnam still haunted me almost every day. I still do some work for a pipeline I retired from in 2007. I was working in Texas in April of 2015. I had to go to Walmart to pick up some supplies I needed for the job. I was standing in the checkout line when a small child started crying and screaming. And by the time I got out of that store, I was having flashbacks of the village, and I was crying. After I retired, it was when this village really hit me hard. Every day I spent some time crying. Sometimes I'd be crying so hard, I would almost be sick. I listened to my radio and I heard a guy who fell off a water tower and was killed. And for the next 3 days I didn't sleep. I kept thinking if I could just climb that water tower ladder and let go, it would all be over. I began having out-of-body experiences as if I had just climbed to the top of that water tower and let go of the ladder. I could actually feel myself floating through the air, free of all of the guilt, all the pain and grief. There would be no more nightmares or daytime flashbacks. No more hearing the screams of the wounded and dying villagers. And never again to hear the long wail of that Vietnam woman and wondering who had just killed her family. I also knew I was in battle with Satan for my life and soul. I felt so alone. The only one that knew what I was going through was the little girl in my dreams. And all of a sudden I found this urge to see the little girl. And I remember saying, "Where are you, little girl?" I need to see her. You're the only one that knows what I'm going through. Then God put a vision of that little girl's face on the inside of my eyelids. And all I had to do was close my eyes. And there would be her picture. The vision helped me get home for the next 3 days and through the many emotional breakdowns and the temptations in my life. When I finally got home, the vision of that little girl on the back of my eyelids disappeared and has never appeared again. When I got home, I was very depressed and I felt very alone. I told no one what I was going through. It's really hard for a veteran to relay his experiences on the battlefield. It's just emotionally hard to talk about what we're going through. The next Sunday, my wife and I attended church, and I picked up a pamphlet on a saint called Saint Therese, the child of Jesus. And she said in the pamphlet, "My mission is to make God love, and I will begin after my death." She said, "I will spend time in heaven doing good on earth. I will let fall a shower of roses, the countless lives that have been touched by her intercession. I knew without help my time was becoming limited. So I began praying a daily novena to Saint Therese. A novena is a specialized set of prayers. We pray for 9 days. Saints can't perform miracles, but as Catholics, we ask them to intercede and take our needs to Jesus, just as you would ask for somebody to pray for you or the church to pray for you. I was on the 5th day of my novena. My wife, Judy, and I took our horses to one of our favorite places to ride in Caney Mountain Horse Camp in Big Flat, Arkansas. It's a very beautiful and peaceful place. On the evening of the third day, a group of about 10 of us were sitting on the porch talking and playing some music when a couple from central Illinois arrived at Kings Mountain. They drove over 600 miles to get here, and they had 2 breakdowns, Bob and Karen, and they came with a little girl, 80. 80 was a little girl I'd seen in my nightmares for the past 50 years. I began seeing her in my nightmares over 40 years before she was born. I couldn't believe what was happening. She was just as she was in my dreams. The same size, the same build. Her hair was even combed the same way. Even though I'd seen her in my dreams, I never believed she was a real person. I never told anyone that night what had just happened. I was having a hard time believing it myself. The next morning, we went riding with Eddie's mom, Karen, and I found out that Eddie had a disease called tubercular sclerosis, which caused tumors on her brain, resulting in seizures. And she's a special needs child. I felt the need to hold Eddie, but was not sure how this could take place. When we back from riding the horses, my wife Judy was paying our bill. We was getting ready to go home. I was sitting on the porch. Eddie and her mom came up and sat down next to me. It took all the courage I could muster to tell her the story of the village and seeing Eddie in my dreams and wondering if she would believe me or think I was a nut. But she just handed me Eddie and got up and walked off and left us alone on the porch. And as I held her, she laid her head on my chest. And all outside of her body began to get warm and prickly. And I knew at this time a miracle was happening. And I remember thinking, God has sent a broken little girl to heal this broken veteran. That was on May 29th, 2015. And on that day, my nightmares and daytime flashbacks ended, and the sights and sounds that happened to that village have been greatly and emotionally disarmed. Edie's health has greatly improved, and shortly after the miracle, she was put on